Hello. Thank you for joining me this evening. In a minute, I'm going to add Keith, who's the head brewer at Ceria from Colorado. So lucky to have him joining us this evening to talk about their new alcohol-free beers and a little bit about his journey. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to hear from him. Yeah, it's 1 o'clock in Colorado, so he's taking a bit of time out of his day to talk to us. So I'm just going to try and add him to the chat now. How do I do that? Let me see. How do I add? Okay, let's try this. See if this works. Oh, hi, Keith.
Is that you, Robin?
Yeah, yeah, hello.
Nice to see you. Yeah. Good evening.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's lunchtime, is it for you now?
It is. Yeah, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Perfect. Yeah, it's 8 o'clock here, so perfect beer drinking time. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We've got your beers over in the UK this month, and yeah, I know lots of people are really excited. They've read a lot about your beers online, and they're super excited to hear a bit about sort of your story and the beers themselves. So yeah, we really appreciate you coming and taking the time to chat to us. So thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. It's my pleasure to talk to you and to your fans too. Yeah, and hopefully we can at least talk about the beers and get any questions answered. But before we go further, is my voice coming through okay?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, sounds great, Keith. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So I know people are going to be desperate to crack open a beer. So I asked the subscribers of my subscription box what they wanted to start with. And they went for the Belgium grain wave. They're very excited about trying this one. So I've already started on mine. So before we sort of get into hear a little bit about the background of yourself and your own journey in brewing and Ceria, do you want to just tell us a bit about this beer that we're drinking?
You bet. Yeah. So we can talk about the beer real quick, and then I'll talk about the history of Ceria. So this is our grain wave Belgian white. It's patterned after the American, I say American style Belgian whites, mainly because I created Blue Moon back in 1995. And Blue Moon is different than the Belgian whites. So the ones you find in Belgium don't really have a fruity orange character because they're brewed with Curacao orange, and they have a lot of coriander in them. So they have a more or less coriander forward and yeast forward profile. Whereas my beers, my Belgian style beers, pseudo-Belgian, quasi-Belgian, they have a more, a brighter, fruitier orange in them because I brew them with a combination of blood orange peel and Valencia orange peel. So they have this really bright, fruity aroma and taste. And then the other big difference is that I use a coriander that is very, very fruity. There are two main types of corianders that brewers can brew with. One takes on a stronger celery-like character. I'm not sure. Yeah, celery is the same word in English.
Yeah, the same word. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So one type of coriander takes on a strong celery-like aroma. The other type takes on a very fruity character, and so I chose the fruity coriander. So I've got that combination of the fruity coriander with the bright orangey peels from blood orange and Valencia orange. And then, of course, it's brewed with malted wheat, malted barley, and oats. And I brew it to have a really good head on it. So I poured it, and it still is maintaining the head. Here in the States, what we were asking people to do is garnish it with an orange, just like Blue Moon, and then enjoy it. So
yeah, I was going to ask about that because obviously your history is with Blue Moon, and famously that's served with an orange. So you'd advise the same with this? Would you?
Yeah, because to me, it just makes it that much more refreshing to enjoy, especially in the summertime and even at home. You know, if you're just relaxing and you just want to enjoy it with that orange, it's a nice ritual to have. Plus, the other thing is the terpenes from the orange. So a lot of people don't realize that those aromas that you get from the orange, including the ones in the beer, the aromatic part consists of chemicals called terpenes. And in oranges, the main one is a terpene called limonene. And this terpene leads to some nice anti-stress relief in the body. So when you smell it, it's almost like aromatherapy. So you can smell it, and then you start to relax. The stress should go down a bit without any alcohol, because the key part for us at Ceria is that our beers have 0.0%. The can says less than 0.5, but if you analyze them, you'll see it's 0.0, and so we are updating our can labels so that this fall, starting in about October, you should see the new label that says 0.0%.
Nice.
So they're truly alcohol-free.
That's amazing. Is that something that you've come across? Is there still a bit of confusion, do you think, in the sort of beer drinking world with 0.5 and 0.0? Is that like a conscious effort to make sure people understand that it contains no alcohol?
Yes, for us, from the start, we've focused on making our beers with 0.0, so no, not even a trace of alcohol, because many of our fans have asked us to make it with 0.0. So we have people who just don't want alcohol, people who can't have alcohol, and others like pregnant women who say they should not have even a trace of alcohol. So for all those people, plus for ourselves, we've purposely decided to make it 0.0%. And it is very confusing here in the States because many people use the terms non-alcoholic and alcohol-free interchangeably. But from a legal perspective here in the States, to be alcohol-free, it has to have 0.0, so not even a trace. And it has to be NA. It can be anywhere from 0.1 up to 0.5% ABV.
Okay. Yeah, and over here at the moment, there's a bit of like, legislation. You know, the breweries are calling it alcohol-free, even though it's 0.5. And I think in general, people seem to understand that 0.5 is, well, the thing with like bananas and burger buns have more alcohol than a 0.5 beer. So but I think it's good that you're kind of making that making that clear for your fans and your drinkers. So you mentioned it a couple of times, like you started with Blue Moon. Like, so when did that start, and then how did that then come into what you're doing now?
So I started Blue Moon back in 1995. And I had gone to Belgium to get my PhD in brewing. So I have a doctorate in brewing science from the University of Brussels. After that, I came back to the States, and I convinced the Coors folks, Molson Coors, to provide funding so that I could start Blue Moon. And so they provided funding, and I launched in New York, upstate New York, and worked my way west. And at first, it was really difficult with Blue Moon because people didn't understand what a Belgian beer was in the United States in 1995. So it was very, very difficult. And in fact, the people at Coors didn't have a lot of patience back then because they didn't understand what I was trying to do with these new things called Belgian-style beers. And they
was there any sort of craft beer scene at the time in the mid-90s? Or were you kind of, completely breaking the mold of craft beer, plus and also it being a Belgian style?
There was a small scene although back then they didn't call them craft brews or craft beers. They were called microbrewed beers. And so the microbrewed beers were in the States. But the whole notion of what a microbrewed beer is different today than it was in 1995. In 1995, the notion of microbrewed beers or craft beers really centered around amber-colored ales and amber-colored lagers. So in the States, back when I launched Blue Moon, the #1 selling craft brew was George Killian's Irish Red, followed by another beer called Red Wolf from Anheuser-Busch, followed by Sam Adams. So these were more or less amber-colored ales and lagers.
Yeah, darker, yeah.
And all of them were filtered to be brilliantly clear, so there wasn't anything that was really cloudy in the States. There were some small beers here and there, but on a national perspective, which I launched Blue Moon to be national, it was very difficult because people thought something was wrong with the beer. And so yeah, I launched, and people at Molson Coors didn't understand, as I said earlier, and many of them tried to kill off the brand Blue Moon.
Oh, no.
And so I tried all the time. Seems like every few months I was trying to defend the brand to keep it alive. And I created that orange slice garnish for Blue Moon back in 1997. Just to highlight the orange peel that it's brewed with, and to make it stick out more in a bar scene. And so,
yeah.
And then I created that glass, the iconic Blue Moon glass, in 1998 to really highlight the color and the cloudiness of the beer. And it wasn't until 2001 that Blue Moon hit critical mass and started growing incredibly well. And it grew to become the #1 selling craft beer brand in the United States, which it still is today.
Wow.
And I believe in the world, it's the biggest craft beer brand. So because the Blue Moon brand is really, it is very popular. They make, gosh, I think it's more than 2 million hectoliters a year of the Blue Moon Belgian White. So,
Wow.
So it's a lot of beer, and it grew from nothing up to that point. And so what happened was I was allowed to retire early. So I became a pensioner, a retiree from Coors, and I got my pension, my all the things. I was able to cash out my stock, and I retired. And then my wife and I started a new company focused on only non-alcoholic beer, which is Ceria. And some of that beer we take to the cannabis market here in the United States and infuse it with THC and CBD. And it's sold in dispensaries here in Colorado and in California. And so it's a small market, but for those folks that want something other than alcohol, they can purchase these same beers, or same Ceria beers, but infused with cannabis in Colorado and California. Now, the difference there is that the infused ones have warnings all over. It says, warning, contains THC, and the tops of those beers have child-resistant tops. So it's a very funny looking top versus this. This is the general market non-infused one.
Yeah.
And the infused is very, very regulated, so there's no danger that people will confuse it or accidentally get some. In fact, you can see here's the sliding. It's a sliding opener, so you can open it and you see the little opening right there to drink out of. But it's child-proof, and so. But that's the one for the. And then of course you can see the warning. THC, contains cannabis, and if you look at our IPA from the general market, you see it's a blue label with a green band versus a completely green one with warning labels everywhere, and the tops are different. So yeah,
you can still. It's good that you still recognize it as your product. And so, do they taste the same? Is there any difference in the flavors from the cannabis?
Just a little bit, because I don't use a complete cannabis extract that has that smell, that burning rubber skunky smell. I use the distillates of THC and CBD, which don't have an aroma. They only have a taste, a bitter taste. So in fact, it works very well in beer. And so you get the nice non-alcoholic flavor with the effects of cannabis. So that some are very nice and relaxing. Of course, some people drink a few and start to get high. But from our perspective, we we enjoy our non-infused one, and
Yeah, yeah.
because I don't think cannabis is legal in the UK, is it?
No, no. There's some brands that do like CBD beers, but it's not. Yeah, it's still kind of finding its feet over here. But I think yeah, because cannabis is still illegal, I don't think they can do it properly. But I imagine like you guys, it'll come around at some point, you know. So tell us. So you say you when did you retired from Blue Moon, and then when did you then launch Ceria? What was the sort of timeline there? And what did you learn from your time at Blue Moon that you could then bring into making these beers?
So the I retired at the very end of 2017, so that my very last day with Blue Moon was January 5th, 2018. And then my wife and I started Ceria Brewing Company. We wanted a good name that meant something to us. So Ceria, if you look, the logo is Ceres, the Roman goddess of agriculture. So she
Oh,
adorns,
cool.
yeah, that's her. She adorns our label. And like I said, we started initially in the cannabis market making non-alcoholic beer infused with cannabis only in Colorado. And it turns out that people enjoyed the flavor of our beer so much, they asked if they could have it without the cannabis because they had jobs where they would get drug tested. And they,
Sure.
truck drivers, or what you call it, lorry drivers,
Yeah,
police,
yeah,
all these people that get tested for drugs, they couldn't have our
yeah.
cannabis beer. So in 2019, we started redesigning everything to offer our beer without cannabis. And then in 2020, we launched our beers non-infused to the general market, and they've been growing very nicely ever since. And
And are
so
they available? Are they available across the states then at the moment?
yes, yeah. So they're available across the states, and so we're and then also in Puerto Rico and direct to consumer. What else? And we're testing them in a few countries in Europe. So
Nice.
UK, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and
Nice.
yeah. So that's that. So we launched in 2018. We launched the cannabis ones. 2020 we launched the non-infused, non-alcoholic ones. They're all 0.0% alcohol, and because they're 0.0, it's very difficult to make a beer that tastes like beer, smells like beer, and has the body of beer at zero point
Mm.
0.0. Because most non-alcoholic beers have a trace of alcohol, which provides a little bit of body, so that it's closer to a beer. So I really had to create some very very unique beers and I did that through the brewing process to give these beers all the body that they need, and and so to me they taste like beer, they look like beer, they have the head, they're brewed with malt, wheat, barley, oats, spiced with hops and orange peel in this case, and coriander. Um, yeah, and we've had a lot of fun with them. And like I said, we people really enjoy the Belgian white for its refreshing character and the
Yeah.
body, because it is. If you smell it, you open it and pour it in a glass and smell it. You will smell the orange character and that fruitiness from the coriander, which is it's right up front in the nose, and then as you taste it, you get the I would say it's the sweetness from the orange and
Mm.
coriander. It's a perceived sweetness because the beer has no sugar in it, so it's not a sweet. It is a fully fermented beer where we remove the alcohol, and uh, and so there is no sweetness like in other beers, and then you get the body, the maltiness along with that body. It's a I would call it a kind of a medium to medium light body, and it's a very nice beer that goes well by itself or with food. It goes very nicely with seafood and chicken dishes, and also Indian food too. So if you have some spicy Indian food, it puts out the fire right away.
Yeah, when I so I've with all this, I taste so many beers, and when I opened that, the first sip, I couldn't believe how sort of authentically sort of Belgium it felt like tasted. Like I I haven't had. I don't think there's been any alcohol-free like Belgium style beers like that come anywhere close to it. So yeah, I think it's going to be really popular over here, and yeah, it's fantastic. And like you say, like from the initial aroma, it's just it really knocks your socks off, and then you get that in the taste as well. So I heard you talking on another video podcast about how much you kind of the high regard that you have for European beers, European alcohol-free beers. Are there any that you have? Is that from your sort of days in Belgium or visiting here, or what are your sort of favourite ones you've had from over here?
Let's see, from over there, I guess my knowledge of alcohol-free beers from Europe really stems from my days when I was at the university
Yeah.
in Brussels, and I would go to Munich to the brewing school there because I had colleagues who were working on making non-alcoholic beers.
Oh wow! In the 90s, wow.
Yeah, that's when they were developing all the technology that's pretty much in use today.
Yeah.
And so at that time, they did create some very nice ones, and so Beck's is a very interesting one, very nice.
They're one of the best. Yeah.
And who else? What is it? Caliber, Buckler.
Yeah. So so I guess those guys would, without them, there would be no alcohol-free beer. And like you say, in Germany, like it's they were first to it. So yeah, it's incredible, really. And to have that experience of it from like the early days, that must have really inspired you.
Yeah, really, it was an amazing time. Kulmbacher is another one. Vian Stefan beer also made one. But they really made some nice tasting alcohol-free beers. And of course, with my time at Blue Moon, there was no need to have an alcohol-free beer, so I didn't do anything there. But with Ceria, it's all about alcohol-free beers, and so I had to really reach back into my memory banks to remember how to make great-tasting alcohol-free beers, and of course we launched with what we think are some of the best alcohol-free beers in the marketplace. We have our Belgian White, and then we also have our IPA, and we can create any style of beer, so anything out there. But for us, we want to fill out the footprint of a national brand first, and then start coming out with flavors. And for now, having two flavors for us is plenty. Our fans ask for more, but we can't do that until we like I said, we fill out our national footprint.
So is that the plan for the future then? Is just to build on that and get it in as many places as you can?
Yes, yeah. So to grow the brand, so it's in as many places as we can get it, and then to start offering seasonal beers and specialty beers, special releases for our fans, because there are a lot of people who enjoy experimenting with different types of beer, and so we're definitely capable of doing that. But at this point, we really want to grow the brand, because the Ceria brand to us is that's the important thing, to grow the brand, so people really grow to trust everything we make, because it's easy to come out with a bunch of flavors, and if you have a flavor that somebody doesn't want, that doesn't help you to build the brand. But if you just have two flavors, you can focus on those, make them really good, and people come to trust your brand. It's the same thing with eyeglasses, clothing, a car, whatever. But and that's one thing I learned at Blue Moon, was the importance of building a high quality brand that people respect. Because when you can build a brand like that people respect, then they'll come to admire you and purchase your new products, because they have a standard that they say, okay, here's the standard up here that you set. You're going to meet it, and so I'll give your new products a try. Whereas if we had 10 products right now, it would be difficult to set a high standard. And so we would have some people who would say, oh gosh, I don't like their stout, or I love their amber ale, but I don't like their German style Hefeweizen. You know, all kinds of things. But if there's only an IPA and a Belgian white, most people will. There's only two, and most people will like at least one of those.
Yeah,
the other
at least one. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one, if they don't like it, they'll say, "Oh, I've got friends who love it, but that's not my style," or they'll say something like that. So, so that's why for us, it's important to keep these two and then grow them everywhere they can grow, and then start offering specialties and really have some fun with it. But yeah, that's where we are right now. We're still a young brand, but we feel we make some of the best alcohol-free beer in the world.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I say, they've been going down with the people that have already opened them. They only got to people on Monday. The boxes send out to everybody on the same day. And some people were saving them for this evening. Some people started them this week. But already the feedback's been amazing. And yeah, I feel really lucky and privileged to be able to have shared your beers with everybody. Because like you say, they're special. And it's great to be part of that journey of you kind of getting bigger and expanding your brand. So yeah, thank you very much. And thank you for sharing your story today.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And yeah, these are our non-infused are available everywhere. And of course, if anybody of your listeners ever comes to Colorado, of course they can try the infused ones, which are the exact same beers. The flavor is identical. It's just that they have the effects of CBD and THC. So they're, and in fact, the Belgian white in Colorado with cannabis has 5 milligrams of THC, and that mimics the buzz you get from about a 5% ABV alcohol beer.
Okay, wow, that's interesting.
And then our IPA, this is the one that your listeners have.
Yeah.
This is the cannabis one, again with a special top. This one in Colorado has 10 milligrams of THC plus 10 milligrams of CBD. So this gives a buzz that's very similar to having probably a pint of a strong IPA, where you get a relaxed buzz. And yeah, so it's very similar to that. So,
nice, yeah. I'm sure that people will be interested. And like I said, I think there's going to be a market for that soon over here. But yeah, in the meantime, now we're allowed to visit. Hopefully, hopefully some people will be able to try that. But yeah, for now, these beers are great, and thank you. Yeah, it's been lovely to chat to you.
Did you want to taste the IPA?
We can do. I'm a bit worried about time now, but I had it about an hour ago, and I loved it. So we can let people have that in their own time. But
I will just say quickly that the IPA, it's a true IPA. It's brewed. We've got just 3 ingredients. It's water, malted barley, and hops. So it's a very simple, just 3 ingredients. We brew, remove the alcohol, but this one is dry hopped. So it's dry hopped with real hops. Many brewers today take a shortcut and add oils to the beer to stimulate the dry hopping character. It's a lot faster. It's cheaper. But in my opinion, the flavor is not the same as a truly dry hop beer with hops. We take the time and the pain to fully dry hop this beer. So we use real hops, dry hop it, and so what you get is an aroma of Amarillo hops, Cascade hops, and a little bit of Citra hops. So it's a real true hop aroma versus the oils that you'll find in other beers that you just these oils that are strong in one aspect or another, that is floral or fruity versus the entire hop.
So it's a lot more natural, not more of a natural taste, not so sort of strong. Like
yes, and it's really for us. It's because we care about high quality ingredients and brewing it the right way so that it comes out at a 0.0% alcohol level and with a really good dry hopped character. And of course, I brew them so that they have really good, thick, creamy heads of foam. So it's a beer. You pour it out in a glass, and there's a definite thick head on the beer.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you. Like I said, I really enjoyed that one as well. And yeah, yeah, looking forward to seeing what other people think of it as well. Yeah. Thank you, Keith. It's been really interesting talking to you, hearing about the beers and your background. Yeah. Thank you so much. And we'll make sure that everyone kind of tags you into their posts when they're drinking them, because I know you'll appreciate the feedback as well.
Well, definitely, yes. And thank you, Robin, for having me on. And cheers to you and your listeners. I hope you have a great evening tonight. And yeah, hopefully our paths will cross soon.
Definitely, yeah. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.